Okay, so let's talk about application side of things, how I applied to become a teacher. So January of 2020, so this is the following year, I sort of came across a job advert that said, I think he called it supply teachers. I think that was the name of the job advert. And they said they will pay like £80 per day. I was like, eh? £80 per day. Mind you, this was a little while ago. I was like, £80 per day, that's a lot of money. Let me apply. So by January, February, I started the application. So by March, beginning of March, my application was completed and they spoke to me. They had like interviews with me. They said, oh, what a supply teacher does is you go into a school and on that day you would cover the teacher that is absent. So the teacher would have set the work for the children to do. All you need to do is give the children the work to do, guide and support them if they need any support, and just make sure that the children are well behaved. So I started my job as a supply teacher in March. So I think I had my first supply teaching job on the 17th of March 2020. And I think that Friday of that same week, schools closed down in the UK due to COVID-19. And for me, I knew that something, what am I going to do? I've just started my job on a Monday and it's what, Friday, schools have closed down. I was hoping to go to more schools to do supply teaching. So around that time, I started to put out my application to become a teacher, to train here in the UK to become a teacher. So to train to become a teacher, you need to have a degree. So you need to have a degree from a university. Aside from having a degree, you need to bring your GCSE results. What did you get in GCSE? You need your reference and you also need to write like a letter of application. People call it personal statement. Why do you want to become a teacher? So around that time, I went online. I put in into Google how to become a teacher, training to become. I just put a lot of things in and it brought up a lot of options for me. I also registered with the Department of Education. They contacted me and gave me a personal advisor. There was someone that used to call me every day, not every day, but every week. She said to me, she's my personal advisor and she would sort of support me on becoming a teacher. So she knew about my application process. She gave me all the advice I needed. So somehow I found this company online. They are called, what's their name? They trained me to become a teacher. That was what they did. I applied to them. And when I applied to them, I had an interview with them. And during my interview, they said to me, what experience of classroom do you have here in the UK? So I told them, I said, oh, I'm a supply teacher. They were like, oh, you're a supply teacher. So me telling them I'm a supply teacher, additionally to the fact that, oh, also in church on Sundays, I teach, they said to me, okay, we will have you on board. We'll give you a place, we'll train you to become a teacher. You will start with us in September, and we'll put you in this school, and this school, and the following year, which is 2021, you'll be a qualified teacher. They also said to me, we will give you two things. You will get a qualified teaching status, which is QTS, but you would also get a PGCE, which is your postgraduate certificate in education. We offer both of them. Would also give you school experience. So you'll be going into a school maybe 2 days a week or 3 days a week, but also completing your uni work because of the PGC. So that's how I applied to become a teacher. I reached out to a provider. I found them online. I just put teacher training in the local area where I was living that time. And I found this company. They interviewed me. They asked me to actually prepare to teach a lesson. So I prepared to teach a lesson on entrepreneurship. So that was what I did. And this was like May, June of 2020. And they offered me a place. And by July, I was so excited, like, oh, September this year, I'm going to start teaching. I also want to say this because I think it's important to share. That same September that I was going to start teaching, the UK government was giving bursary to business studies teachers. So I trained to become a business studies teacher. So bursary means an amount of money for you that you will be getting at the end of every month. So that was 2020. I got a bursary. So at the end of every month, I used to get a certain amount of money to train because I was training to become a teacher. But guess what? The following year, 2021, they stopped giving bursary for that subject, business studies. So if I didn't train in 2020, I would have missed that opportunity to get that bursary. So that means I would have been training to become a teacher for about 10 months. I won't be having any money. I'll be spending my money to go to the school and I'll be coming back my own money. That would have been a lot. But thank God that that year when I decided to train, there was a bursary. I thought to share this. Also, something else happened. So 2020, by September 1st, I joined my school. I was so happy. I remember going in. The first day would be like Teachers' Day. They call it Inset Day. So I got to meet everybody in my department, in the business and economics department. I introduced myself to them. I met other staffs in the school, like I met the head teacher, I met SLT, so many people. The children will not come to like 3 days after resume. They won't come on that first or second day, they come like the third day. So the second day I'd gone to school. So in the office, we were having a conversation, myself and other members of staff, and we're talking about, oh, where do you live? Someone just randomly asked me, oh, where do you live? And I said, oh, I live in Colchester. And then the woman said, oh, I live in Colchester too. And then she says, where in Colchester? So I told her where I lived. And she said, oh, I just live like 2 minutes away from you. I was like, are you serious? So the woman used to live behind me. So she's a teacher in the school, also working in my department, business and economics department. And she said, oh, how did you get here today? I said, oh, I came by train. She's like, oh, I drive so I can take you home. And from that day till I left that school in March 2021, every day I went to school, I went with that woman. We drove to school and we drove back. And before you know it, because we're always going and coming together, we got really close. We used to go out after school sometimes to get coffees, or in the morning when we were coming to school, we used to go to McDonald's. I also used that as an opportunity to sort of preach to her about Christ. I really enjoyed that experience because I truly believe that God led me into teaching. So if there's anything you're picking from this, my application process was, I went online, typed in teachers training on Google. A lot of providers came up, and even the Department of Education came up, but I also had to give them some things. So I had to show them that I had my GCSE results. They had to convert that because my GCSE result was from Nigeria, so they had to convert it to the UK standard. I had to show them my university degree. I had to do references. I had to do DBS, and that's it. So I also had an application to add to that. So that is it. We will now move on to the next video talking about my experience in the UK school. See you in the next video.